Things, then sharing and broadcast, and from there link with other services, then reboot. That should fix it. And I already played a match, so this is going to be a 1 or 2 minute loading screen. Please skip ahead. I need to start up the browser anyway. Hey, welcome back. I had a little problem with connecting my PlayStation to my YouTube account. That has been fixed. And I'm going to check the stream. It's streaming. Awesome. Alright, there's a lot of catching up to do. First story I want to bring to your attention is that California is burning. One of the most destructive wildfires in history, the so-called Carr fire, C-A-R-R, is still raging with only about 40% of it contained, while elsewhere in the state, especially in the north, it continues to expand. Overnight, a 7th person was killed, leading the White House to declare a major disaster, and the statement, yada yada. I should be good. Let's get some 3 scholars. Oh, hang on. Hey, Rio? We're not even 450 yet. Yeah. It used to be that in California it would only burn until it was in September or October, but yeah, there's definitely some global warming going on there. This is interesting though. Look at that, a chemist with a gator. I'm gonna try that. Try this guy. And just bring a little bit of ammo. Yeah, glad I can stream again. I have a problem streaming. It's all YouTube's fault, YouTube's problem. So there's that. Let's just bring in some damage and some health. Lots of stories to cover. I hope San Francisco doesn't burn. I always wanted to visit it. So, this wildfire started July 23rd and was caused by a flat tire. How about that? Alright then. Let's take a good look. Yes, warfare. Yeah, let's leave that. This looks good. A couple of level 5 walls, and there's the chemist. I gotta take care of that guy. Ooh. Ranger base. I'm gonna drop this later. Let's bring in some riots. I would like another... Hey, welcome to the show, man. You can drop a comment on my YouTube. I'll give you a shout out. Let's play some guns up. Today's session is going to be all PvP. I'm going to not do any defense waves because I'm looking to get to level 51. And I got some stories to tell. I read this off the internet so you don't have to. He's trying to send me a message, I'm going to ignore it. So, this is not a bad base at all. Okay, this is going to be a bit of a problem. much better. That's not going to do it. Retreat for strength in numbers. Bring in the vets. None of which are fast tracked, so I'm probably going to lose a couple. Alright, bring it on. How do you miss it? Very well. Oh, damn. Uh-oh. Damn, who would have thought? Well, I got a ranger base myself, so I suppose I'm going to give him a compliment. Good base, dude. Next article. Yeah, so it's not just a wildfire in California, it's now a fire tornado. Damn. Dude, that looks amazing. No, this is not good. Just did not bring the correct cards with me. Let's wait a second. Hey, Tactical, what's up? Oh no, hey, Jordan, welcome back, man. I had a little problem trying to stream. My PlayStation account would not connect to my Google. I'm glad to be back playing the guns up. What is healing that guy? Burn, baby, burn. Disco Inferno. What? He survived. Now he's looking at me. He's looking out the screen. What are you going to do? Shoot me? This one is going to be lost. So yeah, about me. I was having some bad case of ringing in the ears. Now I got some medication for that. So I no longer have a whistling sound in the ears. That really sucked, man. Maybe I could do something. Maybe. What would be the best angle here? This is the best angle. No, here. Can I wait another 3 minutes? Sure I can. Right. an earthquake in Indonesia. I have a lot of love for the people in Indonesia. We have a lot of Indonesian people here in Holland because we once colonized Indonesia. Great food, nice people. Very sorry about what we did there. Shameful. We did not behave ourselves. I could do something here. Come on, man. Yes, I can. Sneaky how they this guy here to the left. This guy left here through the rocks. Stupid. Went up against one of my alliance members in the last season. You got wrecked. You mean you take red one? I'll be returning to that alliance in September. They need really good players. I mean really good players. So they can make enough score to become number one. And I have to tell them that I could not make that many points. I don't have the resources. So, aha. Yeah, I'll rejoin the big red one in September. Once I get enough cards and a foolproof base. Right now I decided to join the Vikings for a bit. Because I only need to score 500 alliance points for them. So I'll be playing with them for season 24 or 25. This should be a quick loading screen. I'm very welcome to go back there, but they really need excellent players right now, and I don't have I could not guarantee that I would score that many points. But it's all good with friends and stuff. So, how about that shit in Venezuela, man? They tried to kill the president with a drone. What the fuck? I could see about that alliance. That name for you, it was, I bet it was... Pip. Can't find it. Never mind. Let's go play some guns up. I want to start with you. Pickle Ricks. Alright, buddy. I'm thinking about putting in a fast track on this guy. Yeah, doesn't need to steady. Because that's only for bombardier bases. So let's bring in some riots. I should be able to do it 3 scholar or 2 free before the game crashes. And yeah, so simple munitions. Give me a flag, a plague. Bring in a focus fire, why don't I? And berserk. Yeah, man, stuff's going down in Venezuela. The capitalists are not happy with the guy there. He's a dictator, man, what can I say? I don't like totalitarian regimes where you have to do one thing, everybody. Come on, man. Let's stop reading off the internet. Make a big splash right away. Ooh, Rambo. Top or bottom? Let's go top. Take care of those Rambos first. Here we go. How far can I go? I can go all the way up here, I'm pretty sure. Take out that sniper. Take out that medic. Yeah. Getting warmed up. Even training some vets at the moment. Very good. Milk it. Milk the base. I slurp your milkshake. Oh, I could have turned those Rambos into Flambos. Kaboom. Yes. Oh, cool. What's the name of your alliance? I'll join it. I can join for about 6 weeks. Right. This should not take a long time. What else is new? Okay. 3D printing guns. There was a guy named Gutenberg in Central Europe. He was the inventor of the Gutenberg press, so they could make newspapers. And that was a revolution, that you could make your own press, make your own newspapers. Same is for printing 3D guns. If everybody has a gun, people be nicer to each other. Yeah, alright. Take your time. Alright. In Portland, riot cops are using flashbang grenades on protesters. Oh man, this is interesting. There are three major powers in the world. That's the United States, Russia, and China. And Russia's going to have to make a choice. Are they going to go with China, or are they going to go with the United States? Now, Americans are not doing a good job getting them to choose for the United States. They're constantly blaming everything on the Russians, which I think is a bit bullshit, really. And that's not the way you align yourself against China. Mostly all of the world wars, including the one before World War One, were between a rising power and a declining power. So in World War One, it was the declining power was Britain, and the emerging power was Germany. And now this century is going to be the Chinese century. They're rising, and the Americans are a declining power. They're not doing too good. So who is Russia going to align themselves with? Which is a subset of who is Turkey going to align himself with. Is Turkey going to stay with us, with the West, or are they going to go to Russia? And the same is for Russia. They need to decide what side they're on. What is this? That's interesting. Nah, don't be silly. Man. Alright. How about you? This looks like a sniper base. Let's do a 3-sculler. Let's bring everything. Some ammo. Rally flag. A focus fire. Plague. And berserk. Let's read that article. Look for barrels. Let's start bringing in troops. Where is he making me go? He's making me go up there. That might not even work. Gotta try it though. Yes. Good call. So I got a really interesting article. I'm going to explain to you about the Russians, the Americans, and the Chinese. Because trade wars sometimes lead to real wars. So it's not just guns up. I'm going to keep you up to date about what's happening in the trade war. This is something that I did before, and I'm going to do a lot more now. Because it's an interesting world we live in. There's a Chinese saying, or a curse. Chinese people want to curse you, they say, I hope you live in interesting times. But we've had peace for 70 years now. This is the world that's never been at peace for such a long time. Personally, I would like it to keep it that way. Oh yeah, I'll get on that right after this match. I'll join your alliance. So, next, up here, I gotta rush this base. We gotta rush this base. Is that good enough? Probably. Pull back. Need to take care of these Rambos first. Question is, are they still gonna go that way? I forgot about you guys. Oh man. Seven minutes. Alright, I got some time. Still have a bit of time. Look at all those lovely veterans. Yeah, sure, we can recruit. Let's turn them into Flambeau. Come on, Flambeau. So, probably gonna hit one of those loading screens. Pay attention. Since 1991 and the formal end of the Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union. Oh no. You're gone. Really cool. I watched this movie. I'm looking at a Netflix series called The Americans about Soviet spies pretending to be Americans. And then I watched another movie about the Afghan War and how that destroyed the Soviet Empire. And a little later, quote, since 1991 and the formal end of the first Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union, the world has experienced an American unipolar moment. That means there's only one superpower, unipolar. As the US policy establishment sought to consolidate and perpetuate its control over the entire planet, which was doomed to fail even before it received its fullest articulation by the neoconservatists. And that is ending. So instead of a unipolar, before that we had a bipolar. That was the US and the Soviet Union. Hang on. Yes. See about the alliance. J. Is it that one? No. Let's extend the search. Found it. Hey, this looks like you have plenty of... Alright, man. Alright, just add me in there and then... Yeah, it's spelled correctly. Cool, man. Fabian Play says, sup? What's up, Fabian? Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. I'm discussing trade wars. I'm reading articles off the internet. All the while playing some Guns Up. Yes, I think I'm ready to get a 3-scholar in there. Let's play some Nightmare. Ooh. Alright. Not that impressed here. So he has bombardiers, and this guy has bombardiers, right? I don't care. Just do it. I want to have fun. I had a win, so I can bear a loss. Let's bring in tactical boots to take care of these bombardiers. So before the end of the Cold War, there were two powers, bipolar. It was Russia and America. But that is ending. There was only one superpower, the Americans. I mean the United States. That's coming to an end. More after this battle. Alright, thanks for watching, Fabian. Come back anytime. So, where are... If that's one, I'll do another. I'll do... Yes, one in you. Get him. What am I looking at? That's sneaky. Very sneaky. Probably tell what I want to do here. I'm gonna make sure the balance is let's go for a top side. Oh, it's a kernel base. Okay, why are they doing that? Oh, alright. Okay, that makes sense. I need to protect my truck. That's at all costs. The truck has to go first. Alright, let's get a decoy on these guys. How much AA? He has 1 AA. 2 AA. Ah, damn. 3 AA. Come on, man. Ah, no. Oh, I tried. Maybe this wasn't the best idea. I'm gonna make it. I might make it. No dice. No dice. Take care of that. Yes. Excellent. It'll be a close one. Get him, boys. Come on, I perked you up to black level. That's the point, right? Thank you for the compliment. I'm getting better at this game. But for bombardier bases, I need to use tactical boots and steady. So I had some bandwidth. The first base was too easy. This one is a bit harder. Strength in numbers, guys. Okay, they're not doing what I need them to do. Oh, dang. Uh-oh. This is bad. I don't think this is going to work. Good, man. I got a lot of points for that. Sure was an interesting base. I've only seen 2 bases that had kernels. Maybe I should leave that chat group. Fight to the last man. Getting my crotch on. Alright. So things are changing in the world. And in the 1980s, the Russians invaded, or the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. And that ended their empire. Same happened with the United States. After 2001, they went into Afghanistan. So that's ending now. They broke the United States. And a long time ago, Alexander the Great was one of the best generals, war people ever. His empire broke in Afghanistan. So you gotta think, man. That's 3-0. 3 empires busted in Afghanistan. And this is because the people in Afghanistan, they are very, very independent. They don't like it when you tell them what to do. So now we have, again, a situation where the United States, China and Russia are the main powers. And the question becomes, what is Russia going to do? Are they going to side with the Americans, or are they going to side with the Chinese? So, quote, is the... so we're going from a unipolar world with only the United States to a tripolar world with US, China, and Russia. And maybe the entrenched Washington establishment will crash everything down in a desperate but futile attempt to hang on to its power and privileges, which appear to be approaching an end. What the Trump administration does next with respect to Iran, which is next to Afghanistan, will be a key, perhaps decisive indicator. However, lately there's emerged an alternative concept that may be seen as a middle way between America's stubbornly hanging on to their diminishing power versus working out a new concert of powers. Oh, this should be good. Let's do it. So let's get into this. This is an interesting article. So, are they going to work with these Chinese and Russians? Or are they going to keep competing between these three powers? This concept suggests that the US should play the odd man out, teaming up with one of the other two players against the third. So yeah, what America should do is when they need to, when they have a problem with Russia, they need to side with the Chinese, and if they have a problem with the Chinese, they should side with Russia. This could conceivably perpetuate and enhance America's global dominance while limiting the influence of the designated adversaries. like I said, get them on your team. Strangely, given the unhinged levels of Russia hatred that define the American political class, no one seems to have proposed trying to flip Beijing away from its quasi-alliance with Moscow in a repeat of what Nixon did. Nixon played the Chinese against the Russians. Nixon was a president in the 70s. So yeah, they're getting the idea now that they should befriend Russia so they can contain China, because China is the rising power. There's a very real possibility that Washington and Moscow will collude for a very big reason and soon. Both nations, that's Russia and the US, have reason to fear a coming change in the international order that will impact them both, and as history shows us time and time again, a rising power that seeks to overturn the international system can make the most dedicated enemies join forces, and fast. So what they really need to do is get to Russia before China gets to Russia. And while it might not happen right away, and an armed clash over, say, Ukraine or Syria could delay or even destroy any chance of geopolitical realignment, there's a very real possibility that the stars could align for Russia and America to take on China in the future. Stranger pairs have occurred in the past. You know, the strange bedfellows, but with how the American administration is conducting its business right now, you could very well see a future where the Russians and the Americans stick together to deal with China. Could be a partner in containing a common foe. History and circumstance still stand for no one. Playing the Russia card against China is even presented by a diplomat as part of a long-term strategy. Trump has a grand strategy. He wants to do a reverse Nixon and partner Russia for an alliance versus China. So what Nixon did in the 70s, he went to the Chinese to fight the Soviets. And right now, I think that Trump will try and get the Russians on board to fight the Chinese. I don't mean warfare. I mean the politics. But yeah, this could also be this could be war. As far back as 1972, in a discussion with Nixon on his upcoming trip to China, Kissinger could visualize. Oh, Kissinger is a bastard. Kissinger is a real asshole. We still have a jail cell on the International Court for Criminals here in Holland. We're keeping a jail cell open for that motherfucker. Kissinger could visualize such a rebalancing becoming a view that compared with the Russians, the Chinese were just as dangerous. In fact, the more dangerous over a historical period. In 20 years, if he's as wise as you, we'll wind up leaning towards the Russians against the Chinese. Kissinger argued that the United States would sought to profit from the enmity, that's bad blood, between Moscow and Beijing in the Cold War era, would therefore need to play this balance of power game unemotionally. Right now, we need the Chinese to correct the Russians and to discipline the Russians. But in future, it would be the other way around. So if you need the Russians, then maybe it's not a good idea to keep blaming them for everything. Me, personally, I don't have a problem with Russians. Russians have some real balls. Russia is a really great country. But that could be culture, because Russia is a European country. I don't care what you say, they're Europeans. And China is not. And I'm a European, so my culture would prefer that we side with the Russians instead of siding with the Chinese. But the Chinese, they hold a lot of debt. So the Americans, they need to either print a lot of money to pay the Chinese back, which would devalue the dollar, which would be a problem if you want to get re-elected. So yeah, it's a big chess game with 3 players. That's how you should see it. You ever seen that Star Wars movie, the first one that they ever did, where they're playing 3D chess? It's kind of like that. They're playing 3D chess. Anyway, the possibility that Trump or some people in his administration may be seriously considering the idea can't be dismissed. It should be noted that among the few sane voices about Russia in the US public life, yeah, that's what Fox News and so are saying, is that China is the real threat, not Russia. So the Democrats are angry because they're no longer in power, and the Democrats are really hating on the Russians. But the Republicans, they're hating on China. So I guess it all depends on who's going to be the next president. If Trump wins the re-election, we're going to make the U.S. is going to make friends with the Russians. And let's see, I think for the Democrats, they're going to go with what's her name? Elizabeth. What's her name again? There's some other chick, damn it. They're going for a woman president again. Why don't I know her last name? Elizabeth. Anyway, I'm gonna call her what Trump calls her. He calls her Pocahontas because he thinks she's not a real Indian, not a real Native American. Damn it! All right. So if this Elizabeth person wins the president election in 2020, we're going to side with China, and if Trump wins re-election, we're going to side with Russia. However, whether or not the US is open to teaming up with Russia against China doesn't address the question of whether such a ploy would be objectively viable. There are 3 strong reasons to suppose it wouldn't be. 1. US hostility towards Russia is unalterable for the foreseeable future. In a rational policy-making context, it should be obvious that there is no inherent reason for the US-Russia animosity. The basic interests of the 2 states do not conflict, and there is much other than China that should be in basis for cooperation, such as the common threat of Islamic terrorism as opposed to the decades-old US penchant and employing jihadists against Russia and other countries like Serbia, Libya and Syria. And there is not, indeed, there are not a lot of Islamic people in China, because they only have Chinese people in China. But if you want to fight the armies of God or the armies of Allah, we need to team up with the Russians, because the Chinese don't have that problem. And what the United States needs to stop doing is arming these armies of God. Stop arming the people that are destroying Libya, Syria, Serbia, because they don't like the government in these countries. They arm the rebels, which most of them are armies of God. Unfortunately, there's little rationality about Russia in Washington. Die-hard, uncompromising detestation, that means hate, of Russia, which decent people are not supposed to see as anything but an enemy, is inseparable from the transatlantic conspiracy to eject Trump from office. So yeah, like I said, the Democrats are not happy about losing power, and they're trying to blame Russia for everything because they don't like Trump. And I agree with that statement. So there's a conspiracy to eject Trump from office. Maybe. Indeed, Trump's pledge to improve relations with Moscow is among the top reasons Trump is being targeted for removal. Hostility to Russia unites virtually all the Democrats, almost all prominent Republicans, the entire mainstream media, and every prestigious think tank, and seemingly every high-level official on Trump's own team. In the wake of the Helsinki summit with Putin, the skepticism on supposed election meddling, the hysteria of this hate has reached new heights in a derangement. Senators promising a new sanctions bill from hell, even as Trump insists existing sanctions are here to stay, presumably forever. The new Senate measure even includes the preposterous requirement that the Secretary of State submit, that's the Foreign Office, submit a determination of whether the Russian Federation meets the criteria for designation as a state sponsor of terrorism. Now, the Russians are not sponsoring terrorism. I know that much. Evidently ignoring the fact that for over 7 years the US has armed and funded Al-Qaeda-linked terrorists in Syria, while Russia has been killing them. And that's a really, really good point, because in Afghanistan, excuse me, let's take care of this problem here first. In Afghanistan, the Americans gave arms and money to bin Laden. They armed the armies of God to fight the Soviets, the Russians. Then in 2001, the dog that they set loose on Russia bit them back in the ass when the World Trade Center got attacked. So they made their bed and they should lie in it. Trump's own top officials openly press him not only for meddling in the elections, which I don't, no. Even if the Russians did meddle in the elections, the Americans done a lot of that as well. So, turnabout is fair play. That's how I see it. Social media like Facebook are on a search and destroy mission against anything even suspected of being Russian linked, whatever that means. A young Russian student advocating gun rights and networking in Washington is treated as a spy. It's no wonder the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov can only look on with sardonic laughter. Yeah, well, they should. They're probably laughing their ass off, the Russians. In short, anything and everything Russian is toxic and becoming even more so. Even if Trump really wanted to change this state of affairs, he couldn't do it. Not only his opposition, but his own team will see to that. The ambassador, Nikki Haley, says Russia is never going to be our friend. The Russians have every reason to take her at her word. So basically, yeah, we need the Russians to help them contain China. But if you're going to keep hating on them, the Russians are going to say that, man, we're going to pass. They're going to know I'm not going to do it. Even in the event, inconceivable, that the US did offer to bury the hatchet with Russia, the Russians would have to be fools to accept. The Russians are not fools. Apart from the most minimal, easily verified circumstances, why would anyone in Moscow believe any assurance from anyone in Washington? Did the US honor their commitment to not move NATO into the east? Yeah, that's an interesting story. After the Berlin Wall fell, after the Soviet Union was disbanded, I think it was Clinton. No. Either the first Bush or Clinton promised the Russians that they would not expand NATO any further than Germany. And they didn't get it in writing. So the Americans are saying, no, we never promised that. And they're saying, all right, you don't have it written down, so forget it. Yeah, Bill Clinton. So during Bill Clinton, the 1999 aggression against Serbia over Kosovo, does the US show good faith and bases accusations of Russian guilt and false flag chemical attacks in Syria and the United Kingdom? While Russian officials by nature remain open to professional discussion with those they still insist on preferring as partners, they also know blind ideological hatred when they see it. Even if tomorrow the US would offer the Russians the sun, the moon and the stars in exchange for cooperation against China, they wouldn't bite, nor should they. Russia has more objective to get along with China than with the US. The main thing Russia needs from the US is nothing. There is very little of practical economic nature Russia needs in a positive sense from the US and vice versa. What Russia mainly wants from the US is negative, to stop regarding Russia as the enemy and to get out of Moscow's face in regions vitally important to Russia, but of little value to the United States. Without taking the George Orwell 1984 comparison too far, geographically, America and Russia not only have no reason for conflict, they have little natural need for interdependence. Russia is the closest approximation. The United States is the principal. Well, this is difficult. With a common border of 2,500 miles, Russia and China are locked into a relationship by the simple fact of geography in a way neither is with the United States. They're border countries, so that does make sense that the Chinese and the Russians would stand against the Americans. Let's get through this quickly. If Trump survives the efforts to remove him, a tall order, given the forces arrayed against him, and doesn't plunge the US and the Middle East into an Iran war, it is still an open question whether he can deliver on an America First policy. Along with getting control of our borders and restoring America's industrial base, that must mean completing his demolition of the failed neoliberal order of which the US has been a guarantor of and enforcer. In its place, the only stable and mutually advantageous arrangement for America is a Big Three accord with both Russia and China. The notion of turning one against the other should be dismissed as a distraction that it is. So yeah, it's a big ass chessboard, and Russia will probably be reluctant to join the United States against China. Because they don't trust the United States anymore. What does this mean? It means that China is now a rising power, and China is claiming the South China Sea as its own territory. The Americans are of the opinion, this is my own opinion right now, I'm not reading the article anymore. The Americans are of the opinion that those waters should be free for everybody. But the Chinese have started building military installations in that sea. And if the Americans start moving carriers into there, then there might be a conflict. So, nice. That was a pretty deep article. I believe that a deal should be made between the Chinese, the Russians, and the Americans. And that's always better than going to war. Okay. Is it okay if I post your YouTube info on the wall of the Alliance? Sure, man. Ooh. No, I need all that. I need all of these. Wow. I need all of that. Do I now? Fuck it. Let's upgrade a tower. Yes, I finally have a level 19 sniper tower. Really amazing. Alright, it's time for my dinner. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. And I hope to catch you guys on the flip side. Later.